Make your school and students future ready. Join the digital transformation.
Learning today is really different.
All these interesting and helpful gadgets at school, the way we learn them makes me feel ready for the world.
Portable devices powered by school-wide Wi-Fi access.
We upload lessons anytime, students can access wherever they want.
My lessons are right on my mobile, and I can easily study anytime and anywhere.
We made a big change, and it's truly worth it.
It's a new era in education, and you can lead the way to customized learning.
I learn at my own pace. Kapag nahihirapan ako sa isang topic, I can easily message my teacher and consult about it.
Lead the way to collaboration.
It's amazing how with one app, we can easily communicate and collaborate with our students.
Lead the way to innovative teaching.
Our teachers are challenged to do better, to think outside the box, to be more creative and innovative.
Every day, I look forward to an exciting class.
During events, educational videos, gamified learning, learning possibilities are endless.
Lead the way to interconnectivity.
My mom is so happy now that she gets updates about school events with just a text or an email.
Centralizing all work processes and files has made everything so much more manageable.
Beyond learning, our administrative processes have also become more efficient.
These are just some of the wonderful things that await with your school's digital transformation.
Today, we can lead the way in creating new ways of learning for students.
It's definitely wonderful to lead the way in creative and innovative teaching.
I'm happy that my school is leading the way and equipping me for the new work environment.
I am proud to be in a school that's leading the way in ensuring global standards here in the Philippines.
More and more schools are already integrating digital ways in their traditional learning techniques. Join the digital transformation and let us equip you to lead the way to create the future of learning. Only with Globe My Business.
May pag-asa pa ba?
Sa gitna ng lahat ng agam-agam, may mga bagay tayong muling natuklasan. Wala palang pagsubok ang makakatalo sa tatag ng ating nagkakaisang puso.
Nananalig, nagmamalasakit, nagbabayanihan,
Nagmamahal sa bayan,
sa kalikasan,
sa kalusugan,
sa pamilya.
at sa kapwa.
Kaya anumang pagsubok ang kakaharapin,
Umasang may magandang bukas para sa atin.
at pagkatapos ng lahat ng ito,
It all starts with you, your influence, how you use it, how far you'll take it. You can fuel a culture of innovation, world-changing solutions, and a digital revolution. One that can save lives and save the world we live in. Because in today's business, the goal is to go beyond, to move, not just to focus on I, but I will. And if you say I will now, then you've already won. You already own tomorrow. A tomorrow where working separately can bring us closer to family, where the things we waste can turn into things of wonder, where children have room and reason to grow up, where every organization has a common goal to do good, because we know better. So take on the challenge and ignite change. Use your influence, lead, inspire, and create beyond business. Remember, it all starts with you.
The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar.
In this fast-changing world, there is a need for every school to evolve, innovate, and progress to help their students prepare and adapt. And today, you can lead the way to world-class education standards. Make your school and students future-ready. Join the digital transformation.
Learning today is really different.
All these interesting and helpful gadgets in school, and the way we learn now, makes me feel ready for the world.
Learning now happens within and outside the four walls of the classroom, with the general student population now using portable devices powered by school-wide Wi-Fi courses.
We upload lessons anytime, and students can access wherever they are.
My lessons are right on my mobile, and I can easily study anytime and anywhere now.
We made a big change, and it's truly worth it.
It's a new era in education, and you can lead the way to customized learning.
I learn at my own pace. Kapag nahihirapan ako sa isang topic, I can easily message my teacher and consult about it.
Lead the way to collaboration.
It's amazing how with one app, we can easily communicate and collaborate with our students.
Lead the way to innovative teaching.
Our teachers are challenged to do better, to think outside the box, to be more creative and innovative.
Every day, I look forward to an exciting class.
Current events, educational videos, gamified learning. Learning possibilities are endless.
Lead the way to interconnectivity.
My mom is so happy now that she gets updates about school events with just a text or an email.
Centralizing all work processes and files has made everything so much more manageable.
Beyond learning, our administrative processes have also become more efficient.
These are just some of the wonderful things that await with your school's digital transformation.
Today, we can lead the way in creating new ways of learning for students.
It's definitely wonderful to lead the way in creative and innovative teaching.
I'm happy that my school is leading the way and equipping me for the new work environment.
I am proud to be in a school that's leading capturing global standards here in the Philippines.
More and more schools are already integrating digital ways in their traditional learning techniques. Join the digital transformation and let us equip you to lead the way to create the future of learning. Only with Globe My Business.
Ngayong binabalot tayo ng dilim at pangamba,
Sabay-sabay ang pagkatok ng mga tanong na,
kaya pa ba?
saan ba tayo pupunta? May pag-asa pa ba?
Sa gitna ng lahat ng agam-agam, may mga bagay tayong muling natuklasan. Wala palang pagsubok ang makakatalo sa tatag ng ating nagkakaisang puso.
Nananalig, nagmamalasakit, nagbabayanihan,
Nagmamahal sa bayan,
sa kalikasan,
sa kalusugan,
sa pamilya.
at sa kapwa.
Kaya anumang pagsubok ang kakaharapin,
Umasang may magandang bukas para sa atin.
at pagkatapos ng lahat ng ito, sama-sama tayong tatayo.
It all starts with you, your influence, how you use it, how far you'll take it. You can fuel a culture of innovation, world-changing solutions, and a digital revolution. One that can save lives and save the world we live in. Because in today's business, the goal is to go beyond, to move, not just to focus on I, but I will. And if you say I will now, then you've already won. You already own tomorrow. A tomorrow where working separately can bring us closer to family, where the things we waste can turn into things of wonder, where children have room and reason to grow up, where every organization has a common goal, to do good, because we know better. So take on the challenge and ignite change. Use your influence, lead, inspire, and create beyond business. Remember, it all starts with you.
Good afternoon and welcome to the first Liveable Cities Lab on distance learning under COVID. I am Guillermo M. Lugo, Chairman of the Liveable Cities Philippines and Chief Resilience Officer of the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, the country's major private sector coordinator for disaster risk reduction. I will be your host and moderator for today. First of all, let me welcome the mayors who are joining us from around the country today, along with 50 cities and 13 municipalities and hundreds of people from across the country. First, I'd like to welcome Mayor Jaime Ataide, Municipality of Luna in Isabela. Mayor Jose Cardenas from Canlaon City, Negros Oriental. Mayor Lourdes Katakis from City of San Pedro, Laguna. Mayor Wilfredo Di Maguila from Binyan City, Laguna. Mayor Francis Anthony Garcia from Balanga City, Bataan. Mayor Romel Jacolea from Cabuyao City, Laguna. Mayor Richard Gomez from Ormoc City, Leyte. Mayor Alfredo Marañon, Sagay City, Negros Occidental. Mayor Juan Medina from Vigan City, Ilocos Sur. Mayor Alfredo Ortega from City of Fernando in La Union. Mayor Francis Palanca from Victoria City, Negros Occidental. Mayor Arnan Panaligan from Calapan City, Oriental Mindoro. Mayor Lanny Revilla from Bacoor City, Cavite. Mayor Edwin Santiago from City of San Fernando, Pampanga. Mayor Eric Singson from Candon City, Ilocos Sur. Mayor Jefferson Soriano from Tuguegarao City, Cagayan, Mayor John Yap from Tagbilaran, Bohol, Mayor Mercedita Apura from Carcar City, Cebu, and Mayor Webster Letargo from Gumaca, Quezon. Mayors, welcome to the Liveable Cities Lab, and thank you all of you for taking the time to join us in this webinar. The Liveable Cities Philippines and League of Cities of the Philippines, in partnership with Globe Telecom, are pleased to present the Liveable Cities Labs. It's a series of webinar sessions to deliver information, knowledge, ideas, and insights for better solutions for your city. Our first lab will focus on distance learning under COVID. COVID-19 and the global lockdown have affected educational institutions and have caused major disruption and challenges for our educational system. The first challenge will be how to get students to enroll for the upcoming academic year, now opening in August. DepEd reports that elementary and high school enrollments are down 25% for public schools. Private schools may even have lower enrollments if some of their students have been shifting to public schools. The economic toll of a long lockdown and little or no economic activity will have a toll on education, both in the long and short term. The second challenge will be how to deploy distance learning or how to combine it with in-person learning under this new normal. How do we use technology to create a resilient education system and help students continue learning? Aside from DepEd and the private schools, cities may need to play a critical role in helping schools shift from traditional face-to-face education to online education and the challenges of connectivity, availability of devices, curriculum, and teacher training. The third challenge will be to ensure that a strong and reliable infrastructure is in place to enable this new form of teaching and learning. This session hopes to address these and other questions on education in the time of COVID-19. In order to do this, we've assembled a panel of speakers to address these challenges. As we proceed, please feel free to type in your questions in the Q&A box or on the comment section of Facebook Live so we can properly queue your questions for the open forum later. Now to get underway, to give us a basic education perspective on how cities can help local schools in creating a resilient education system in light of COVID, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Salustiano T. Jimenez, Officer in Charge and Regional Director of Department of Education in Region 7. Dr. Jimenez has been a teacher, a principal, a program supervisor for private schools, an assistant schools division superintendent, a division superintendent, an assistant regional director, and now an OIC regional director. He has seen the entire school system from many levels, which makes him eminently qualified to speak about the challenges facing DepEd today. Let's please welcome Dr. Jimenez.
Hey, good afternoon, Sir Bill, and to all, good afternoon. So my salute to all joining in this webinar series, those who have the heart for education. So once again, a pleasant afternoon to one and all. According to H.L. Locke, no one can whistle a symphony. It takes a whole orchestra to play it. So this actually supports a whole, this supports the popular adage in line of education, and I quote, it takes the whole village to educate a child. So our activity today is a conduit to that effect. And in order to continue and improve the quality of teaching and sustain the learning that education must continue in public schools amidst the pandemic, there is a need to make educational content accessible and usable in whatever forms feasible in a locality. With this, I will usher you to my talk on online education amidst COVID and how cities can help local schools create and a resilient education in light of COVID in the basic education perspective. First, Region 7, I'll just give you a snippet of the learning continuity plan as our guide in our actions. So amidst COVID-19, pandemic, DepEd Region 7 does not settle for less to ensure that learners in the entire region could access basic education anywhere, anytime, without health risks. This learning continuity plan embodies the strategic approach of the region towards responding to the new normal in education landscape of the country in general and in the region in particular. And with that, we have this path wherein our Region 7 Department of Education is adopting. So path to new normal in DepEd, specifically in Region 7. So what is this path? So we have progressive actions toward delivery of instruction with the use of the different varied modalities to suit the needs of our learners in this time of pandemic. All our actions actually are aligned to central office policies and guidelines, which is in support to our Sulong Educalidad with our beloved Secretary Leonor Magtulis Briones. Also, as part of our path, we trust each other. We trust each personnel's capacity and capability to handle varied situations. So this is how we develop our personnel, both teaching and non-teaching personnel, to become resilient also on whatever challenges we will be facing. Next is in the path is healing the whole of a person. We in DepEd Region 7 really is of a desire to heal as one. So we have programs for physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual for our learners, teachers, and non-teaching personnel, so that we can we will be assured that all of them will be able to survive in this pandemic. And that is our path to new normal in DepEd Region 7. So the path is being adopted by the entire Central Visayas. This Region 7, Central Visayas, actually, Region 7 lies at the center of the Philippines between the islands of Luzon and Mindanao. It is composed of 4 island provinces, 17 legislative districts, 116 municipalities, and 16 cities. So the Department of Education, Region 7, oversees the implementation of services anchored on the principle of shared governance stipulated in the Republic Act number 9155, or the Governance Act of Enhanced Basic Education in the 19 schools division of the region, namely Bae City, Bayawan City, Bugo City, Bohol Province, Karkar City, Cebu City, Cebu Province, Naga City, Danao City, Dumaguete City, Giholngan City, Lapu-Lapu City, Mandawi City, Negros Oriental Province, Siquijor Province, Tagbilaran City, Tanhay City, Talisay City, and Toledo City. Now also, Central Visayas, with the 19 divisions, has an enrollment of, as for now, we already reached to 1,702,851 for school year 2020-2021. That is for all the sectors, including public, private, even the PWD or with person with disabilities. Also include here are from the SUCs and also from the alternative learning system. Now for public alone, we have already 1,600,000 more or less, and that is already 90.8% of the target enrollees for school year 2020-2021 based on the previous enrollment in 2019-2020. While on the private, we only have 90,000 enrollees for the entire Region 7. and that is only 27% of the target enrollment for the private schools. Now, with the bulk of the enrollees and with the respective location and situations, DepEd Region 7 have these challenges, especially that we have this pandemic or the COVID-19. So these are the different challenges that we in the Department of Education Basic Ed are facing. And one is on how we can ensure health, safety, working environment to our learners, teachers, and other personnel. Also, the appropriate alternative learning modalities that can be adapted in the different schools within Region 7. So we have different modalities offered, like modular distance learning. It's more on the printed. Online distance learning, when we say online distance learning, it can be through internet connectivity and other forms on online distance learning. The self-learning modules, still on the printed one, the blended learning. So it's a blended learning, a combination of, before it can be face-to-face with other platforms, or it can also be a radio-based instruction with the modules. That is still blended learning. And also homeschooling. So homeschooling wherein the parents or the guardians with a tutor will be the one doing the delivery of instruction to their children or to the learners within the households. Aside from those, especially now that we are in the pandemic, we also have limited internet access of schools, especially if the schools prefer an online learning modality. So like the Wi-Fi, the modems, the routers in schools, and also teachers and learners. So we have limited access on this. Then also insufficient learning gadgets and equipment. The more that our learners are from public, especially the public schools, so we lack gadgets and equipment. Then we also have these concerns or challenges on psychological and psychosocial support systems. Though the Department of Education, the central office is also coming up with some webinars on this, and even the regional office is coming up with some webinars on this, but I believe it's still a challenge because some of our teachers and learners were not able to attend because of access again. So we will go back to the limited internet access in our schools and also in the respective households where our learners are. So with that, with those challenges, I know there are always ways on how we could address all those challenges. And we believe in the Department of Education that through the partnerships, we can transform the challenges of the basic education new norms to opportunities to grow, to develop, to be at par with the rest of the world. Like, for example, the partnership with our local government units and non-government organizations, because there are lots of non-government organizations who are also very willing to help. Now, this time, specifically, I'll be tackling on how our local government units, specifically the cities, can help the local schools in creating a resilient education system in light of COVID and in the basic education perspective. So one there is the provision of access or connectivity. So some of our schools prefer, especially in the cities, prefer online delivery modality. And we lack the equipment or the infra. And because of that, we need the help of our local government units or the cities, especially in the area of their jurisdiction, no? Even it's a city or a municipality or a province. For example, in the city-wide internet connectivity in schools, one of the 19 divisions, like in Bayawan City, the Mayor Henry Pride Tivis, already had an initiative to have internet connectivity in all schools within the city of Bayawan and probably the household. So that's a good development, and that could be possibly be done also the rest of the cities, who has the capacity to have that. Another is also the provision of tablets or the phones. Now, if ever we do have the access or connectivity, we also have some concerns on the gadgets or the gadgets or equipments that will be used by our teachers and our learners in the delivery of instruction. Now, for these gadgets, actually, like for example, in one of the cities here in the 19 divisions, Cebu City also, the ISKI chairman already proposed an ordinance or a resolution providing all 170,000 learners in Cebu City with tablets. So it's just a matter of coordinating with them and with the schools division office on its implementation. Aside from that, we all even have the city of Naga also providing equipments and gadgets to the learners. Also the city of Talisay, and I believe some other cities also are doing this. And that's a good development to help our schools, especially in the implementation of the learning continuity plan, so that our education shall continue even with this pandemic or with this COVID-19. Another is the point-to-point connection. So it is more on the radio frequency. Now, the local, in relation to this, the local government can possibly put up a tower or come up with a radio station, not only for learning purposes, but all other info-related purposes that the city or municipality intend to. So likewise, provision of radio units to households with school-aged children. So those are some of those possible assistance that the city or municipality or a local government unit can extend to our schools. Another is the wide area network in cities and municipalities, connecting education. So in this, catching online content for offline use in places where internet connectivity is sporadic, unreliable, or intermittent. So innovative approaches to catching and distributing digital content can enable offline access to vast number of online resources in ways that can stimulate online environments. So in here, the LGU can help, especially on the infra side, while the capability building shall be from the Department of Education. So all this can be done if there is a strong partnership among the stakeholders. As it says, no challenge is insurmountable for as long as we continue to work together for the future of the Filipino learners, our future leaders and nation builders. So to one and all, once again, thank you very much for the time. Thank you for them very much for the partnership. God bless everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Jimenez. Let me just try to go over some of the remarks that Dr. Jimenez mentioned, just so we don't forget them. And should you have any questions, I'd like to remind you that you can use the Q&A box or the comment section on Facebook Live so we can answer them during the panel discussion later. But let's see some of the items which Dr. Jimenez mentioned, some of the challenges they face, the health and safety environment when people go back to school, the different modalities of teaching and learning, from distance learning to self-learning to blended learning and to homeschooling. The challenge, of course, of limited internet, of access to devices and equipment, and the challenge of providing psychosocial support for students. And I think psychosocial support also, I believe, for teachers and for parents, because it's going to be such a new environment for all of us. No, I like how Dr. Jimenez was very specific with how cities can help, how to help build up the access and connectivity and infrastructure within their cities, how to provide tablets, phones, devices for learning, how to work on point-to-point connectivity, and how to provide for wide area networks. And I think towards the end of this webinar, we'll be able to answer a number of those questions and issues. And we'd like to also hear from you in the audience what comments or questions you may have regarding all the presentations. So again, just a reminder, please use the Q&A box or the comment section on Facebook Live to feed us your questions. Now let's move on to the perspective of higher educational institutions on how cities can help schools. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Renato Arimbuyutan. He is the president of the College for Research and Technology at Nueva Ecija University of Science and Technology in Cabanatuan City. So the College for Research and Technology of Cabanatuan is a pioneer in modern computer education in Nueva Ecija. Since its establishment in 1988, CRT has grown into a full-fledged college offering Bachelor's of Science degrees in Information Technology, Hotel and Restaurant Management, Tourism Management, Accounting Technology, and Technical Teacher Education. Aside from Cabanatuan City, CRT maintains 3 branches in Gapan City, Gimba, and San Jose City, all in Nueva Ecija. Ladies and gentlemen, let's please welcome Dr. Arimbuyutan. Doctor?
Yeah, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. May we all be safe at this time of COVID. Yung pong pakilala doon sa eskwelahan, sa mga eskwelahan po na private, katulad din ng mga negosyo, meron po yung tinatawag tayong SME, yung small and medium. At ang aming paaralan ay isa doon sa small. Pero 31 taon na kami, kaya na-experience namin yung lahat ng pagbabago sa educational system. Can I have the slide, please? Yeah. Yan. First one. Ang una po ay nung nagkaroon sila ng pag-aaral na ireforma ang ating edukasyon. Isa lang ang may hawak sa ating sa pamahalaan, yun lang Department of Culture and Sports. Pagkatapos nito, sa pamagitan ng batas noong 1994, hinati ito. Sa halip na isa ay ginawang 3. At yung DEXDA ay ginawa nating DepEd, mahawak ng basic education. Pagkatapos yung pong nasa gitna nito, para doon sa mga technical vocational courses ay ang TESDA, at ang napunta lamang sa higher education, ang HCIs, ay doon sa CHED. Next please. Hello? Can I have the next slide please? Pero pagkatapos po nito, nagkaroon ng pagbabago ulit yung reforma ng ating edukasyon. Pumasok ngayon yung tinatawag nating K-12. Sa halip na yung 10 taon sa basic education, naging 12 taon, plus 1 year do sa kindergarten, bago siya makarating sa senior, sa baccalaureate programs. Next please. Kaya ang ating Philippine education system, may ganito po ang binubuo niyan. Makita ninyo, hinati-hati ito. Pero kung papansin ninyo, Ang yung senior high school at saka yung TESDA ay nagkaroon sila ng paghahati. Sapagkat ang ating senior high school ay meron na ring tinatawag natin na technical, vocational, and livelihood courses na siya namang hawak ng TESDA. Next, please. At buhat dito, nakabuo tayo ng Philippines Qualifications Framework. Ang edukasyon natin ay tinignan natin sa pamamagitan ng levels, level 1, level 2 hanggang level 8. At mapapansin din ninyo, may overlapping ang basic education at saka ang TESDA, yung NC1 at saka NC2. Next, please. Sa pagkakaroon ng K-12 program, nung ito ay implement, kumapansin natin, bumaba ang enrollment. At ang enrollment ay bumaba parehas na public and private. Sapagkat nawalan tayo ng first year, doon sa unang taon ng implementasyon, at first year and second year sa pangalawang implementasyon. Next, please. Kaya ito po yung makikita natin sa level niya. Supposed to be, yung ating unang batch ng K-12 sa senior high school na pumasok, third year na po sila sa ngayon, at dapat next year ay papasok na ng fourth year. Ibig sabihin, doon po sa ating K-12 program, hindi pa po tapos ito. Hindi pa natin test kung naging effective ito at umabot ba doon sa punto na yung mga bata ba ay nakatapos sa pamamagitan ng bagong sistema ng edukasyon natin at tinatawag natin K-12. Kaya pagkatapos po nito, ang mga eskwelahan dahil bumaba ang kanilang enrollment, lalo na sa private, ang naging kapalit lang ng pambuhay para sa kanila ay sa pamamagitan ng voucher. Next please, senior high school voucher. Yan, ganyan lang po yun. So para mapagpatuloy ng mga private schools, sapagkat wala sila estudyante na first year sa unang taon, first year and second year sa pangalawang taon, at noong sumunod taon lamang nagkaroon ng first year. Pagkatapos po nito, next please. Ito na yung dumating sa atin. Nagkaroon pa ng libreng edukasyon. Ito tinatawag nating UACTEA. At sa UACTEA, UAQTEA, ay naglibre ang edukasyon. Nung pong nagkaroon ng K-12, nagkaroon ng migration ng teachers from private to public. Sapagkat dumami na yung kailangan nilang teachers at yung mga guro na aming na-train ng mahabang panahon, buhat sa private ay nalipat sa public. At nung dumating yung libre edukasyon, nagkaroon naman tayo ng migration ng estudyante. Yung mga estudyante naman na lumipat sa public school sapagkat libre na ang kanilang pag-aaral doon. Kaya ito po yung inabot. Kung titingnan natin ang ating eskwelahan, particularly sa higher education, malaki na ang ibinaba ng mga private schools. Although nung araw, sa mga unang panahon, ang mga private schools po natin ay mas marami ng higit ang enrollment kung titingnan natin yung higher education institutions. Next please. At dumating nga po ngayon yung pagsasara ng mga eskwelahan dala ng coronavirus. Nung mag-lockdown po tayo, hindi pa tapos ang mga classes. Hindi pa rin nagkaroon ng graduation. Majority ay hindi pa rin. Kaya hindi natin alam kung ano yung nangyari dito. Kaya ang nangyari sa mga eskwelahan na lang, particularly sa mga private schools which I represent, we just wait and see. Yun po yung tingin natin para doon. Pero kung pa man, may mga ginawa din naman yung ating mga ahensya. Next please. Ang Department of Education ay buo ng mga gawain, tuloy-tuloy po ito, tuloy-tuloy noon. Gabi nga nila, tulong-tulong para tuloy ang edukasyon. So hinanapan nila ng paraan, katulad ng paliwanag na ang DepEd ay kailangang magpatuloy kahit sa panahon ng COVID. Kaya may mga iba't ibang paraan na ginawa rito. Kaya nga po ang ginawa ng DepEd, next please, sa private schools ay nagdeklara sila doon sa huling DepEd order number 13, series of 2020, assessing the readiness of the private schools. Titingnan nila, ito private schools na ito, dapat nakasunod doon sa mga requirements na minimaintain natin. Yung compliance na requirement ng DOH, yung IATF and the like, yung learning continuity plan, kung paano gagawin yung mga alternative delivery modes. Yung mga delivery modes na sinasabi nila rito ay pwedeng online, pwedeng blended, pwedeng distance, yung flexible, at saka yung broadcast, either in TV or in radio. Next please. Ganon din naman, sinabi nila dito, yung requirement, readiness assessment, checklist, but these are all non-negotiable minimum requirements. Ibig sabihin, ang isang eskwela kung magpapatuloy siya, kailangan lahat ng requirements na hinihingi ng DepEd para magkaroon ng online distance learning, modular distance learning, o kaya ay radio TV based, kailangan kumpleto ito bago magkaroon ng pasukan. Next please. Ganoon din naman ang TESDA. Siguro kung titingnan natin, ang tertiary education naman natin ay nahahati sa dalawa. Yung TESDA at saka yung under sa CHED. Sila man ay bumuo din. Tuloy-tuloy ito. At sa totoo nga, buhat Marso, meron ng mga pinalalabas na mga pagbabago ang TESDA. At ang kanila ding sinasaad ay magkaroon tayo ng programs na ang tawag din natin ay blended learning. Next please. Next please. At doon sa huling circular ng TESDA, number 62, series of 2020, nagpalabas sila ng guidelines kung paano ma-implement ang flexible learning sa Tibet. Kaya kung mapapansin ninyo doon sa sistema nila ng blended, meron din siyang kasamang online, pero meron din siyang kasamang face-to-face o pagkakaroon din ng distance learning. Yun yung sistema ng sinasabi ng paraan dito, kasi merong mga skills na hindi po pwedeng hindi magkaroon ng face-to-face. Kaya kailangan meron din face-to-face. At ang TESDA ay nag-issue na rin nito na once ang isang eskwelahan, practically, majority ng mga eskwelahan ng TESDA schools ay puro private. Siguro mga 90% ay private schools ang TESDA schools. Kaya mapapansin natin yung application nito, i-apply na rin natin more on private application. That's why TESDA has this. Para noon ay mas mabilis na mai-implement yung tinatawag nating flexible learning. Pero natural di pa ito subok sapagkat ang TESDA gumagamit na siya ng TESDA online learning programs na ito ay mayroon ng 5 taon na tumatakbo. Subalit pagdating sa assessment, ginamit pa ito ng face-to-face. Next please. Ganon din ang CHED. Meron din siyang response para dito sa pamamagitan ng mga advisories. Tuloy-tuloy ang mga eskwelahan na binibigyan advice kung ano mang gagawin at kung paano makapag-adapt doon sa ating tinatawag na continuity plan. Next please. At isa sa mga pinaka major project na ginawa ng CHED ngayon ay doon sa Advisory 7, nilagay dito kung paano sa pamamagitan nito ay mai-implement ng mga eskwelahan ang programa sa flexible learning. Kaya yung makita natin, yung online education doc can open anytime. Pero alam po ninyo, ang CHED, almost 1 decade na yung online education nila. May program na po tayo sa CHED ng online education. Pero maaaring tanongin ninyo, bakit hindi naman masyado itong nakikita ang ginagamit? Sapagkat hindi pa masyado popular yung application ng online education. Ito ay nagagamit lang karamihan sa atin sa graduate programs. Kaya makikita ninyo, graduate programs ang nag-a-apply ng online education sapagkat medyo may kahirapan ang pag-aaral na walang guide na nanggagaling buhat sa teacher. Kaya nga po yun yung sistema nito. Pero kung i-convert ang sa eskwelahan ng full online, they can open anytime. Kaya po May 31 nakalagay na sa kanya. But all others ay hindi. Next. Sa ngayon po, ang ginawa ng test ng CHED ay magkaroon ng PhilCHED Connect. Ito po yung isang paraan na ginawa nila para magkaroon ng common open resources ang lahat ng paaralan, lahat ng higher education institutions sa Pilipinas. Kaya po yung lahat ng mga available open resources inilagay dito para noon may access ang lahat ng eskwelahan doon sa mga available resources na po pwede nilang gamitin sa pag-aaral. At ang flexible learning hanggang ngayon ay kasalukuyan pa pong iniaayos ng CHED kung paano itong i-implement. Actually, bago po ako pumunta dito, ay meron na kami meeting. We have a meeting with CHED from 9 o'clock up to 3 o'clock yun. Tinitingnan namin kung paano mabubuo yung paraan ng flexible learning na patatakbuhin natin pagdating ngayong August. Next, please. Yung binabanggit po nung tatlong government agencies natin ay bumubuo sa tinatawag nating digital education. Lahat sila, ang recommendation is to go towards digital education. Ang tawag natin dito nung araw ay e-learning. Hindi po lumabas dito yung sa sistema. Pero una, ang pag-aaral ng bata ay maganda kung teacher at saka estudyante. Ngayon, binuo po natin ito sa isang bahay na tawag natin ay paaralan. Kaya magkakasama ang eskwela at saka teachers na tinuturuan sa pamamagitan ng mga contents. Yun po mga resources, learning resources na po pwede nila matutunan. Ngayon, ang digital learning ay nagsasabi sa atin na may paraan para gawin ito. Sa digital learning, ay andun po yung tinatawag nating synchronous and asynchronous system na gagamit ng digital. Kaya ibig sabihin, pwede matutunan ng bata ito kahit hindi yung teacher na mismo, directly ang bigay sa kanya, po pwede niya matutunan. Ang sistema ng e-learning ay po pwedeng mag-aral ang bata sa sarili niya. Yan po yung una dun eh. Pwede matuto yung bata sa sarili niya, o pwede rin sa pamamagitan ng e-learning, ang teacher ay matuto pa rin sa pamamagitan ng mga available resources na meron sa atin. Ang teacher at ang estudyante ay pwede rin mag-communicate, at ang estudyante sa estudyante ay pwede rin mag-communicate. Yan po yung approach ng e-learning. Pero maaaring ang nagiging problema lang natin, paano siyang gagamitin at paano siyang i-apply. Sa ibang mga bansa ay gumagamit na po sila niyan, pero hindi pa rin siya ganun kalaki. Ala pa pong 20% ng mga mag-aaral ang interesado sa paggamit ng online. Sapagkat hinahanap pa rin naman natin yung social interaction na isa sa pinakamahalaga sa lahat. Ang estudyante nga, pagka hindi mo binigyan ng deadline, hindi naman nag-aaral eh. Pagka hindi mo siya i-guide doon sa simula ng kanyang pag-aaral, naghihinto na siya. Ibig sabihin, talagang mahalaga pa rin yung social interaction for motivation in learning. Kaya kailangan pa rin ito. Pero sa ngayon, dahil nga po sa pagkakaroon ng problema sa pandemya na mayroon sa atin, wala tayong matatakbuhan kundi sa pamamagitan ng digital education, yung online learning, sinasabi natin, tinatawag natin e-learning. Kaya ang best na magagawa siguro natin ay suportahan yung ginagawa ngayon ng tatlong government agencies natin sa education, sapagkat ito lamang ang makapagpapatuloy para sa continuity of learning ng ating mga bata. Yan po ay buhat sa level ng elementary, high school, and college. Pero sa totoo, ang pinakamalaking epekto po niyan ay nasa college, sapagkat ang na-disrupt ang education ay sa college. At sa ngayon, kung disrupted pa rin sila, magkakaroon tayo ng problema in the future doon sa mga job requirements na kailangan natin. Sapagkat nagkaroon na tayo ng 2 taon na delay at magkakaroon pa tayo ng additional delays pagbalik ng normal ng ating bansa, magkakaroon tayo ng problema sa kulangan ng mga skilled na mga manggagawa. Next, please. Just like with what DepEd has been experiencing, we have a lot of challenges. Ang unang challenge na meron po sa atin ay yung adaptation to the new learning approach. Ito po yung binabanggit natin. Marami ng panahon ang nakalipas na ginagamit ng online learning, pero hindi pa rin po ito magamit ng maramihan sapagkat talagang medyo mahirap po itong i-adapt. Una, dapat matrain ang teachers para gamitin ito sapagkat hindi pa naman sila well adept dito. Dapat i-train natin ang estudyante para makasanayan nilang gamitin ito. Hindi po porket meron na silang tablet, meron silang laptop, meron na silang cellphones, eh matututo na sila sapagkat napakahirap i-adapt ito. At mahalagang tingnan din natin ma-i-adapt doon sa mga magulang. Kasi isa sa mga questions kung bakit hindi ito tinatanggap, eh sapagkat yung mismong mga nagpapaaral ay hindi naintindihan at hindi ma-appreciate kung paano itong gamitin. Kaya ito pinakamalaking challenge po natin eh. Hindi lamang yung gamit, kung hindi kung paano tatanggapin ito. Sapagkat yung culture na meron tayo, yung pedagogy na meron tayo, inakasanayan natin sa mahabang panahon at magiging isang malaking hamon sa atin kung paano mababago ito. Kaya nga po sinimulan ko ito doon sa pagbabago ng reforma ng ating edukasyon, inuturo sa 3, unique nga po ang Pilipinas sapagkat 3 yung agencies na umahawak sa edukasyon natin. Pagkatapos pumasok ang K-12 na nagbago yung sistema niya at ngayon nga gusto natin sa ilang panahon mabago ito. Nung pong nagkaroon ng pagbabago ang ating educational system, inabot ng 3 hanggang 5 taon bago mag-normalize. Kaya sa ngayon, ang problema na natin ay yung adaptation ito, kung paano natin magagawa ito. Kaya nga po, mahalaga pagtutulong-tulungan natin ito. Tulungan natin matuto ang mga teachers, tulungan natin matuto ang mga estudyante, at tulungan natin matuto ang mga magulang. Next. The second challenge is the technology infrastructure. Ang number 1 sa technology infrastructure na may problema tayo, natural, ay yung internet. Kahit na sabihin natin na okay naman, kaya makita natin hindi pa naman ganun kagaling yung ating system of telecommunications. Sabi nga nila ang ating internet ay medyo mahina, medyo mabagal, at medyo mahal. Yung infrastructure siguro kailangan madagdagan ito sapagkat kung hindi natin ma-improve ito, hindi rin magagamit ito. Kaya kung pansinin ninyo, kung ang gagamit halimbawa ay 27 million na estudyante, kakayanin ba nung infrastructure natin ito? At yun ay binubuo lamang ng basic education. Ala pa po yan yung tertiary education na nasa 3 million din mahigit. Kaya para makasabay tayo riyan, kailangan ang tututukan natin ay yung pagpapataas ng infrastruktura ng ating teknolohiya. At ang nakita namin na pangatlong hamon sa atin, the third challenge is the financial capability. Yung pagbibigay ng mga gamit na pansimula sa mga bata, mas malaki po yung maintenance. Para bumili ka ng sasakyan, kailangan mo rin gasolinahan. Mas malaki po yung gastos nito. Kaya nga, are we capable enough to finance what we need so that we can come up with the new learning approach? Isa sa pinakamalaking hamon po ito kung paano natin ito ma-implement. Kaya doon sa mga challenge dito, marami po tayong challenge dyan, pero ito yung unang dapat na matutukan na challenge. Hindi lamang po sa private ito, hindi rin sa public, sapagkat ito ay kabuuan ng ating pakikipaglaban sa pandemyang ito. Sa level namin, inisip namin, ano kaya ang magagawa ng mga LGUs para sa atin? Kaya, what LGUs can do? First, siguro sabi namin, they can help in putting up a means for connectivity. Dito po sa Cabanatuan, ang balak ng pamahalaang lungsod ay maglagay ng hotspots sa lahat ng barangay. At yun ay, ang hotspot naman, very limited din yung distance niyan eh. Pero at least may connectivity para doon. At tinitingnan nila kung paano sa pamagitan nito ay makatutulong sa mga mag-aaral. At ang ganda po nito, dapat hindi limited ito sa public. Kasi kung minsan tinatanong natin, pwede po bang maglagay ng connectivity o internet sa mga eskwelahan, ang LGU? Pagka sinasabi po nila yon, karaniwan, kukuha doon sa Special Education Fund, hindi kasama ang private. Nung nga pong nagkaroon kami ng meeting sa Regional Development Council, nang hingin additional budget ang Department of Education. At ang budget na hinihingi niya para makabili ng laptop at saka tablet ang mga teachers. So ang tanong ko sa kanila, yung po bang bibili natin laptop at saka tablets kasama ang private school teachers? Hindi daw at sa public. Siguro maganda rin. And the LGU should consider both. Sana po kung magtutulong tayo, yung teachers ay pare-pares naman po yan na tumutulong para sa edukasyon ng ating mga mag-aaral. Dapat walang difference between a public and a private school teachers. Yun po yung isa sa mga sinasabi namin na po pwede nating itulong. Pangalawa, the second one is the compliance to health protocols. Maganda naman po ang ginagawa ng mga LGUs natin ngayon. At kami natutuwa sapagkat umiikot sila sa mga paaralan at tinitingnan nila kung talaga sumusunod sa mga health protocols. Pero ang hinihingi din namin, lalo na sa mga private schools, kung nakapag-provide din tayo ng mga libreng mask, yung mga libreng gamit na ipamimigay, baka pwede rin pong isama na rin ninyo yung private schools na magkaroon nito. Kasi may mga estudyante rin tayo doon. At isa sa mga hinihingi sana namin, magkaroon din tayo ng kung pwede sa mga estudyante ng mass testing. Siguro best din na magkaroon din tayo nito para magkaroon ng chance yung mga bata para doon. And the last is to help us set up learning facilities. Kasi kung may hotspot tayo doon sa ating mga barangay, kailangan din merong lugar doon yung mga bata na po pwede pumunta. Ang alam ko po, ang DICT ay nag-set up din sila ng mga learning centers. Baka po pwede nating magamit yung learning centers nito. At bawat barangay, magkaroon din tayo ng learning center na yung mga bata ay merong access sa internet, may access sa resources, at saka may access for connectivity to others. Ito po ang ating tinatanong para dito. Maraming salamat po sa pagkakataon na pinagkaloob niyo sa amin. And we hope that you can see the plight of the private schools also. Thank you very much. Sir Bill.
Thank you very much, Dr. Renato. Very comprehensive picture of the plight of the private schools as well, no, which people may not always realize. I think what you illustrated was that pre-COVID pa lang, private schools were already struggling a little bit with lower enrollment on the senior high school level when K-12 came in. And then the needed support for the universities, the higher education institutions, for the freshman and the sophomore years, kasi wala naman pumapasok sa freshman and sophomore years, no? And then it seems like so long ago, but actually you're correct, schools closed early in the last academic school year and are opening late this year. So thank you for walking us through the different orders from DepEd, from TESDA, from CHED. I think all of them are referring to either blended learning or distance learning or online education or some mix of that, no? And I think what is critical is also that the vast majority of TESDA schools are actually private schools, no? And it's tough to teach vocational skills without meeting face to face. I think there has to be some in-person training for that. And the challenges you mentioned, adaptation to new learning approaches, again, not only for the students, but also for the teachers and for the parents. The technology infrastructure, as already mentioned by Dr. Jimenez, so that's a common point for both public and private schools, and I guess all educators are worried about that. And then the financial capability. And then finally, you told us what specific items an LGU can do to help you, to help private schools is one, again, referring to technology infrastructure, the ability to help put up means of connectivity, hotspots in the different areas of the city and the barangays. Second, stressing that support was needed for both public and private schools. Third, for compliance with health protocols, again, for all schools. And then the establishment of learning centers in the barangays for people with no access to connectivity or to devices. It's a fine balancing act because as we put up learning centers, we still need to respect social distancing and wear masks and hand washing to be able to keep the spread of COVID down. So thank you very much, Dr. Renato, for that. Now let's shift to the sort of a private sector view, not a private school, but in the private sector, and to give us an overview on the impact of COVID-19 on the education industry. Let me introduce Mark Payumo Abalos, Segment Head for Education of Globe Telecom. So while Mark works for Globe, he is an English Studies language alumnus from University of the Philippines, Diliman. He also obtained his teaching qualifications on language teaching and technology integration at the University of Colorado in Boulder, Colorado, US. And he holds 2 professional development certificates from Harvard University. Currently, from the Harvard Graduate School of Education specifically. Currently, he is doing a joint program on leadership and school management by the Harvard Business School and the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and he heads the education segment of Globe. So let's please welcome Mark Payumo Abalos. Mark?
Good afternoon, Sir Bill. So let me share my screen. So I'll be talking about technology and education in the age of COVID-19. As part of our initiative in education in Globe, we have come up with different insights in terms of how we see the industry growing and changing right before our very eyes because of this pandemic. So in terms of the agenda, so I'll be first discussing about COVID-19 and education. Then I'll be talking about education, market insights. And of course, lastly would be learning and teaching with technology. So education is one of the most relevant industries in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic because it has disrupted totally the way traditional education is happening in the Philippines. And as an educator myself, I've seen how schools grapple when this particular pandemic started last March. So let's talk about the updates. So for COVID-19, it has impacted the education segment because all over the world, there's 1.1 billion students across the planet that are affected by the outbreak, of which 67.6% are total enrolled learners. And then as of today, there's 143 countrywide closures. In terms of the stats in the Philippines, you'll see here 28 million learners are affected across different levels from pre-primary, secondary, primary, and of course tertiary. And this is based on the global monitoring of school closures caused by the COVID-19 from the UNESCO. So driven by the COVID-19 crisis, as mentioned by our first 2 speakers, the Department of Education has crafted the Basic Learning Continuity Plan, which emphasizes that school will start in a few weeks now. So that's August 24, and then it will end on April 30, 2021. So our private schools will be allowed within the period provided by law, and there's no face-to-face classes that will be allowed earlier than August 24. And then, of course, in terms of the learning delivery methods, there are different methods that we can employ depending on the situation and the areas where the schools are located. And of course, these adapted learning methods in the middle of this pandemic to be implemented by the DepEd gets a lot of support from the different children's rights and welfare, proving that education is not a privilege but a right. In terms of the Commission on Higher Education, we're very much privileged in Globe to have a dialogue with the chairperson himself. And he mentioned about the different learning delivery options that we have. So we have here flexible learning, of course, can be face-to-face, blended learning, distance learning, homeschooling, and other modes of delivery. But I'm very glad that both our education, basic education, and our higher education are working hand in hand in terms of how this crisis should be attacked. Globally, I'd like to emphasize also that this particular situations are not only unique in the Philippines, but also in different countries in the region. So if you will see, and most of you might have heard that this particular e-learning, online learning based in research increases retention and information. And all the schools that are closing globally, this particular method will be here to stay, and we have to adapt to this particular new norm, rather. So in Singapore, there's a lot of technology advancements that are happening, one of which would be LARC, which is a collaboration suite that is for free. So a lot of teachers and students are using this for unlimited video conferencing. And then, of course, it has auto-translation capabilities. And of course, basically like a full suite of programs that schools can use and students and teachers can use in order for them to access the learning resources. Of course, South Korea has already started with a revolution of, making sure that their teachers are delivering their lessons initially via phone, but right now they're doing it online. And then, of course, there's Zhejiang University, spanning several campuses in China. We have seen also that they have migrated fully in online learning. So in Switzerland, countries like Switzerland and other European countries have also started distributing gadgets for their students and they make sure that 95% of their students have access to computers. In comparison to Indonesia, all right, which has only 34. And in some local governments, in say for example, Australia and New South Wales, they have started providing digital equipment to students that are in need. And you will see in the last tile, children in Denmark as early as the age of 11 are returning to nurseries already after closing last March 12. And this is a sample PE class via video. So let me share to you now our research that we did in Globe. So this is based on the data usage of an affluent university that currently is our client. So this particular is based on the prepaid internet usage profile of a university. And you will see that there's a 25% decrease from week 1 to week 2 with 14% decrease in total data usage. And in 2 weeks, 68% on average consume data of only 5 gig or less. So what does it mean? Number one, we do not need unlimited data for schools to make sure that online learning or digital education happens. Because if you will see also in the data, there's only 16 consistent high data users, which is more than 20 gig in a week. So there's only a few students who would probably use more than 20 gigabyte of data every week. So the average is 5 gig or less. And speaking of gigabytes, let me show you how far does 1 gig go. So for the our mayors, you'll probably understand that there's probably a lot of students would ask you for assistance in terms of how they would want their online learning classes be conducted by, of course, giving them connectivity. But here you can see 1 gig can go as far as 30,000 plus emails, 31,000 plus emails. on an average of 30K view without an attachment. Of course, they can spend 4 hours in video chat, which consumes 224 MB on average per hour. And there's also a possibility of surfing the internet for 44 hours with an average of 24 MB. But then again, these stats would depend on how classes are going to be conducted. So say, for example, if the schools, as mentioned by one of our speakers earlier, if the schools are going to do synchronous classes, which means a lot of video streaming, so it would eat up a lot of data. But there's going to be, of course, there's going to be more planning on this, let's say a mixture of synchronous and asynchronous methods, then it's going to be easier for schools to watch out and maximize the data that they use. Now let's go to the market insights that we have for education. So for the Philippine education industry segments, we have here, of course, as mentioned earlier, we have the DepEd, of course, TESDA, and the Commission on Higher Education. I'd like to zero in on these three institutions because for K-12, it could be private or public. And then, of course, for tertiary higher education, they could also be higher public and private. But I'd like to also focus on the tech voc education because TVET in general, for other countries, is one thing that serves as a springboard for people to go to the tertiary institutions, which means that in the Philippines, since it's not given so much importance, I'd like to zero in this, most especially in the cities, because there's a lot of support that is needed in this particular segment. A lot of people would normally find TVET as secondary to the K-12 or the tertiary levels, but we have to make sure and understand that tech voc programs are essential in making sure that learning becomes continuous as well. So what are the various segments, what do the various segments say rather, in terms of the new normal of learning? So parents said, so 59% of them said that they are open to this new initiative from the DepEd in terms of the new norms for blended learning or flexible learning. 41% of them, of course, of the school personnel said that they are optimistic about alternative learning setups. And then, of course, 35% of the learners said that they're looking forward to this. This is based on the Google ideation workshop held this month. And then, of course, we lifted it to the Department of Education Basic Learning Continuity Plan. And given this, I'd like to share with you the different trends, digital trends in education. So 81% of our students are using mobile devices to study. 77% of our students say that adaptive learning technology has helped them improve their grades. And 62% of students say that technology helps them feel better prepared for class. 48% of students say that technology helps them save time. And then, of course, since most of our students now belong to our Gen Z youths, here are some of the most frequently used devices. So 75% use mobile and smartphones for them to learn. 45% use laptop computers. 30% use desktop computers. 10% use the tablet. Of course, others use the Xbox or the gaming consoles. That's 8%. 3% for the smart TV. And of course, 1% for the wearable devices. So as we said, Gen Zs are the tech-savvy generation. So they have not seen the world without technology. And we have to understand that 60% of them say that they would likely collaborate, of course, and share their knowledge with others online. 50% of them can't live without YouTube. So again, it's one thing that we have to understand. And 93% of them feel confident as they say that they understand technology well. So it is something that is a must for schools to cater the Generation Z. And then, of course, for the use of the devices, there's a wide range of activities that they use. They access for entertainment, that's 59%. They text and chat, they do school, which is 78%. They do the schoolwork, 36%. Of course, play games, 58%. They learn new things at 28%. And then, of course, 17% shop and browse. But again, guys, this is something that is pre-COVID. So now that we're in the middle of the COVID crisis, it's something that we have to take into consideration also, that these medley of activities might change, and most of them would, most or the bulk of them would go to doing schoolwork, and then of course learning new things in the internet. So in terms of the hours that are spent, right, 45.5% of those population spend 3 to 6 hours in the internet or using their phone. And then 1 to 3 hours would be 26.1, 17.1 would be 6 to 9 hours, and then 9% would use 10 hours. So even the way they utilize the smartphones are essential in making sure that this online digital learning happens. Okay, now let's go to learning and teaching with technology. This is like the last part of my presentation. So I'd like to emphasize, most especially to our teachers and to our educators who are watching, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. And given this, our students, being the primary users of technology, utilize technology in so many ways. They can find and analyze resources and materials. They can keep on learning how to be more organized. They can communicate with the world beyond the classroom. They can collaborate. They can create. They can code and program. They can share information. They can use this as their digital storage, and then, of course, promote digital citizenship. For our teachers, of course, this is also essential. Homeschool communication is something that they use technology for, and then, of course, they better use student feedback. By using technology, they get to provide more comments to the output of their students. They have different resources also for different learners, and they increase student engagement, plus professional growth, and of course, grading, attendance, plus administration. So can distance learning become the new normal? So one thing that I've learned from this particular presentation, this is from the International Labor Organization. We need to plan our learning objectives and track the learning outcomes first, and make sure that we search for information and access learning materials eventually. Of course, we have to make sure that we are conscious about learning processes and make sure that the digital technologies for learning are present. It goes hand in hand also, because a lot of people, a lot of teachers would think that technology is not an ally and technology will replace our teachers. Mind you guys, technology will not replace teachers, but teachers who do not know how to use technology will be replaced by teachers who know how to utilize technology. So in terms of remote learning scaling timeline, in terms of implementation, it is something that we really need to make sure that it's studied. Because again, we have to align and enable, design and set up, pilot the program and monitor, and it's a trial and error thing. It's not something that is perfect. Being the geek that I am, I'm sure I'm having a lot of bloopers already. When I did my, because today it's my first day actually in online school, given that I cannot do face-to-face classes. There's a lot of bloopers that I did already in my class, because again, this is something that's new for everyone. And it does not only happen to institutions that are small, to institutions that are medium. Bigger universities, even the Harvards of the world, would normally have problems also in conducting and implementing online learning. So don't just ask what technology is being used. We have to make sure how, and ask how is it being used, or how technology is being used. And of course, we have to boost, lastly, digital equity. And this is, in education, it means all students can have access to learning resources in an easier, less expensive way than the traditional one. Of course, wherever they are, whenever they are, regardless of their socioeconomic status. So we want to promote this digital transformation processes in schools, making sure that students are allowed to access the benefits of customization, of course, building big data fueled curriculums to shape the future. So that's the end of my presentation. So Globe is your partner in 21st century education. So from connectivity to our learning management system to our collaboration solutions, even our partners, Gcash, Consulta MD for our telehealth care services, to the creation of our videos with our Globe Studios, Education.ph, of course, DICT, DepEd, and the Commissioner of Higher Education, plus our programs, our flagship program on the Digital Content Program for Cybersecurity and Wellness, together with Sengtel, Optus, the DepEd, of course, and of course, our teacher training programs, and our mental health programs would help the education industry in making sure that we are in this together as a sector. So maraming salamat po for the opportunity that is given to us. And if you have any questions, please feel free to type your questions on the Q&A box.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mark, for the presentation. One thing I like about Mark is he not only gives us the big picture, but since he himself is a teacher and has had a few bloopers to learn from, he can give it to us as a real first-hand experience of moving into the online teaching world. No, so I think some of the key points that Mark raised is, one is that we have 28.5 million students who are affected by this total disruption, but we are not alone in the world, and so we have the opportunity to learn what other countries are doing, and I think we can try to pick up some best practice from there. What struck my eye here when he presented is that it seemed that the parents are more excited about the new normal than the students were, and that's interesting because I would have thought maybe it's the reverse, but I guess that's not the case. The other part is that fortunately, Generation Z is the tech-savvy generation, and they are the generation glued, spending 6 hours on screen time, I guess, whether it's a computer or a phone screen, but a lot of time on their devices. I think the big challenge for us is how to slowly modify and change that behavior to move from 73% who might be using it predominantly for texting and chatting, or 59% who might use it predominantly for entertainment and games, and that far outnumber the people who use it for schoolwork and for learning. So I suppose I'm hoping that's going to be reversed as we head into the school year, because of the demands of school will make that necessary. I know as Mark and the others were giving their presentations, you might have been busy clicking away at the screens to try to take some notes. I should have told you at the very beginning, which I forgot to do, is that we're going to make all these presentations available to all of you after the webinar is over, so you don't have to scramble too much in taking pictures or in taking notes of all the presentations. We will be able to provide that for you. Now, again, just a reminder, if you want to ask questions, place them in the Q&A box and on the comment section on Facebook Live, and we'll try to answer as many of the questions as possible. For our final speaker, to give us insights on the importance of building a strong and reliable infrastructure to achieve digital transformation and education resiliency, it is my pleasure to introduce Vince Tempunko, Vice President for Site Acquisition and Management at Globe Telecom. Now, of course, this topic has come up in all previous 3 presentations by Dr. Jimenez, Dr. Renato Arimbuyutan, and by Mark, that infrastructure was critical and connectivity, of course, is critical. So Vince leads the national acquisition and management of site properties and right-of-way for Globe's network facilities, and develops strategic partnerships with key stakeholders, including government units and local government units. Here to talk about the importance of technology and infrastructure and requirements, let's please welcome Vince Tempunko. Vince?
Good afternoon, Bill. Thank you for having me today, and good afternoon, everyone. Give me a few seconds for me to share my screen.
Ako po si Candy Pineda, tubong Quezon Nueva Ecija. Malayo man ang aming lugar sa syudad, hindi problema sa amin ang komunikasyon. Magtungo man ako sa bukid para magbantay sa saka namin, konektado ako dahil sa dami ng cell site dito. Sapat kasi ang bilang nito para sa aming mga mamamayan. Ang ipinagtataka ko lang, bakit sa tuwing magtutungo ako sa Maynila, masira pa ako sa signal. Kahit pa nasa pinakamayayamang village ako, halos di ko mapakinabangan ang telepono ko. Napuputo lang tawag, hindi ako makapag-send ng text, at lalong hindi makapag-login sa internet. Tinanong ko ang ang aming mayor at ipinaliwanag niya kung bakit ganun ang sitwasyon.
Apektado ang kwan dyan pag masyadong maraming gumagamit. Kasi pag hinarang mo, parang hinaharang mo yung progresyon ng isang bayan Kasi malaking bagay pag may cell site, magagamit lahat ng mamamayan.
Kung cellphone signal ang pag-uusapan, maswerte pa pala kaming mga nasa nayon. Mas magiging maayos ang serbisyo ng telekomunikasyon kung tayo makikipag-ugnayan sa ating mga LGU.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. Before I jump into my presentation on building a network for digital transformation, I want to set the context of Globe's vision and what this means to you. Okay. We see a Philippines where families' dreams come true, businesses flourish, and the nation is admired. And to do our part, we create wonderful experiences for people to have choices, overcome challenges, and discover new ways to enjoy life. And in everything we do, we treat people right to create a globe of good. Okay. Globe's vision of nation building and our journey with you pushes us to adapt to the ever-changing digital demands, especially in this new normal. Globe is at the forefront of this pandemic, or what we call the new normal. Okay. Connectivity has never been this important, as it is critical to keep the economy and people's lives going during the community quarantine. And apart from providing connectivity, Globe has also been one with the frontliners. We have donated COVID test kits, PPEs, face masks, and other essential supplies to help them battle this pandemic. The need for us to become a digital nation has never been more pronounced than during this time. During the community quarantine, many Filipinos had to remain at home and rely on digital technologies to continue managing their daily lives. And this has accelerated the move to digitalization at a speed that would not have happened under normal circumstances. With the customer's safety in mind, Globe has offered and developed digital services that minimize their exposure to the deadly respiratory disease. These include digital apps such as Globe One, Globe at Home, and GCash. Okay. As an example, Globe One app allows Globe Postpaid, Globe My Business, prepaid, and even TM customers to monitor their account, track their usage, pay their bill, and even redeem their Globe rewards. And to add, prepaid customers can even purchase load and register to promos. By using these apps, subscribers can do all their Globe transactions without leaving their homes. Globe also promotes online education and online health consultation. We are in constant communication with the Department of Education to boost distance learning as a method of education to the new normal and when physical face-to-face learning is not yet possible. Globe is also with the Department of Health in encouraging telemedicine health consultation with its Consulta MD service. Through this service, a customer can call Consulta MD and talk to the doctors regarding their health concerns. Aside from being practical, Consulta MD also protects the customer from unnecessary exposure to COVID-19. An example is Kawain Isabela, okay, as they are already using Consulta MD, and wherein we provided a voice telehealth kit, which is inclusive of postpaid line, an Android tablet, with a diagnostic attachment with unlimited telecon and videocon consultation. Consulta MD has also partnered with DOH Region 4A to serve 80 barangays, where we also provided a postpaid line and unlimited access for telecon consultations. This is being managed by the barangay health workers, where residents can go to their nearest BHWs should they require medical consultation. We also encourage fintech use and promote cashless society through GCash. With travel restrictions imposed and physical distancing a must, Globe gave its customers and the general public the capability to conduct online business and cashless transactions through GCash. GCash currently has over 23 million registered users nationwide. And during the first month of the ECQ, registrations went up as high as 250%, which shows that Filipino are very good in adapting to the new normal. Okay. And we also wanted to share that there are LGUs and government agencies who have embraced and have reaped their benefits of moving to GCash. Here is to cite a few examples. Makati City uses GCash for the disbursement of cash to their employees and the University of Makati scholars. And just recently, they've used GCash to disperse the SAP allowances to 500,000 Makati residents. And likewise, in Manila City, they use GCash to disperse cash to 17,000 scholars to PLM, UDM, and DepEd scholars. Okay. And lastly, for DSWD, they've used it also for disbursing the SAP allowances. With GCash, netizens, government workers, merchants, and retailers can now enjoy the advantages and benefits of a cashless society. However, digital transformation cannot happen without reliable connectivity. Globe has been aggressively investing in and expanding its network to provide better internet connections. Cell sites are needed to enhance signal penetration and to improve the internet speeds for a better digital experience. So a lot of these digital apps and transformation cannot happen without the necessary connectivity given supported by Globe and the other telcos. Unfortunately, the Philippines suffers from low site density compared to our neighboring countries. This is due to the lack of cell sites in relation to the number of internet users. We are behind the likes of Indonesia, Vietnam, China, and India when it comes to cell sites to internet users ratio. In the Philippines, we have 18,000 towers across Globe, Smart, and now Dito, and over 4,000 users per cell site. Okay. Unlike Vietnam, which has almost 5 times or more than 5 times the number of cell sites and less than about 20% of the number of users per site at 711. Okay. The network cannot expand its capacity without building more towers or cell sites. So we have pretty much have maximized our current towers. So the key to improve the internet speeds in the country is by building more towers. Okay. Here's a high-level illustration. The table shows that cell site requirements or cell site count is a function of both land size and population. Okay. If you look at the green and yellow columns, you will see that with almost the same number of cell sites, the city with a larger land area and population will have slower internet speeds, while the smaller one will have a better data experience, okay, as indicated by the green and the yellow. Okay. And if you look to the right, okay, and if you compare the red and yellow columns, you will see that even if the land area is smaller, but the population is larger, the city will require more cell sites. Okay. So my My laymanized analogy for this is planning for providing street lighting to a community. Okay? The larger the area and the more high houses that you have in the area, the more street lamps that you will need. Okay? So just the same, Globe designs its network based on these two factors. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. To improve internet speeds, Globe has been aggressively expanding its network. However, we continue to be bogged down by the tedious and slow permitting processes. To build one tower, a Globe needs to get 25 permits, and it takes at least 8 months. And usually, in the average, it's much longer than 8 months. We have to get these permits from the barangay, government agencies like CAP, DOH, DNR, and NCIP, and the LGUs. In addition, the non-support of homeowners associations due to the health misconceptions, wrong information, biases towards cell towers exacerbates the situation. We cannot even apply for government permits without the consent of these HOAs, unfortunately. We need the LGUs and your support to streamline and improve the speed of the permitting process so that we can lift the speed of our internet connections. Cell sites are safe and do not pose any health risk to people. I know a lot of people are concerned, but there's a lot of study that has been done in this matter. Cell sites use low radio frequency, and these RF signals are non-ionizing and therefore are non-hazardous, as illustrated by the graph on the right. RF from cell sites are nothing different from those that come from your household appliances such as TVs, microwaves, and radios. According to the World Health Organization, studies to date indicate that environmental exposure to RF does not increase the risk of cancer or any disease. And all our cell sites have DOH certification, which ensures that the cell sites abide to the set standards and are checked post-implementation. Globally, cell sites are installed in public places such as stadiums, theme parks, schools, and hospitals. In the Philippines, hospitals such as FEU and St. Luke's Global have allowed Globe to put up cell sites in their buildings to provide connectivity to their doctors and staff. So that just shows that even doctors and hospitals are aware about the truths about cell sites and that they are not harmful. Okay. And we would like to partner with the LGUs to resolve our slow internet challenge. I mean, it's always a two-way thing, and we need to support your support on the following. Okay, streamline the permitting process and aligning SLAs to the ease of doing business law. Okay. Also encourage your constituents, including HOAs, to support cell site builds and not block our cell sites from getting built. And lastly, include ICT and telco facilities in your infrastructure plans. And I think Dr. Jimenez mentioned this earlier, including allowing towers to co-locate in your properties, including schools. We are hopeful that LGUs will realize that the importance of information and communication technology and network facilities in their digital transformation journey. Digital transformation brings more jobs, business opportunities, employment, benefits, and commerce to municipalities, cities, and communities. We are looking forward to your support so that we are all ready for the new normal. Thank you, and together, let's create wonderful. Thank you very much.
with these cell sites, it affords us better cooperation and communication with the outside world. Because it is vital for FU and RMF to have this. We are now dependent on this cellular signal, and it has helped us a lot. Connectivity is not a problem because we allowed these cell sites to prevail and to be on our roof deck and our helipad. Hindi tayo mawalan ng signal sa lahat ng rooms namin dahil may cell site tayo sa taas. It's one of our major advantages. I think that's the greatest decision that I was a part of, because if not, we would probably be in a worse case right now. I'm thankful that we allowed these cell sites to be installed. I'd like to think and hope that all hospitals have that. We have not had any case of cancer regarding cell sites. As a matter of fact, we employ many cell sites and many boosters inside the hospital. For us, it has saved lives. I think with this new normal, we have realized that we are more dependent on this technology. Cell sites, if not connectivity, are a must.
Thank you, Vince, for your presentation. I think the message that you're sending us really is the importance of cell sites and towers and their impact on speed, and strength of signal. I think you've pointed out that the Philippines has the highest ratio of users to cell sites at 4,200 plus, versus say Vietnam at only 711 users per cell site, and Indonesia at 1,550 or so users per cell site. So I think that explains why we have issues with connectivity, with speed, and with access. The comparison of the three cities that you mentioned clearly shows, the difference between a good experience and experience which needs more improvement, and it all ties to that number of cell sites relative to the population. And then finally, your key message, and I think the message that the video showed from FEU Hospital is that cell sites do not pose a health risk to people, because in fact you mentioned 2 hospitals have built cell sites on their facilities and have improved signals for their own doctors. So thank you for that, Vince. Now we have some time for a Q&A, and I'd like to move quickly to this. Let me introduce or reintroduce our panelists. Dr. Celestiano Jimenez, Regional Director, Department of Education, Region 7. Dr. Renato Rimbuyutan, President of Colleges for Research and Technology in Nueva Ecija. Mark Avalos, Segment Head for Education, Globe My Business, and Vince Tempunko, who's the VP for Site Acquisition and Management at Globe. I'd also like to sort of reintroduce the mayors who are with us today, and I'm sure they might have some comments or questions themselves, but let me just run through the introduction of mayors. Mayor Mercedes Teves Goni of Baez City, Mayor Rowena Tuason, City of Masbate, Mayor Francis Frederick Palanca from Victorias Negros Occidental, Mayor Eric Singson from Candon, Ilocos Sur, Mayor Jefferson Soriano from Tuguegarao City, Mayor Lourdes Katakis from Binian Laguna, Mayor Jose Cardenas from Canlaon, Negros Oriental, Mayor Richard Gomez from Ormoc, Leyte, Mayor Romel Jacolea from Cabuyao City, Calabarzon, Mayor Juan Carlo Medina from Vigan, Mayor Albert Chua from Batac City, Mayor Ronnie Dadivas from Rojas City, Mayor Nico Yulo from Bago City, Mayor Jose Mari Diaz from City of Ilagan, Isabela, Mayor Jaime Ataide from Municipality of Luna, Isabela, Mayor Walfredo Di Maguila from Binyan, Laguna, Mayor Francis Anthony Garcia from Balanga City, Bataan, Mayor Alfredo Marañon from Sagay City, Negros Occidental, Mayor Alfredo Ortega from City of San Fernando, La Union, Mayor Arnan Panaligan from Calapan City, Oriental Mindoro, Mayor Lani Revilla from Bacoor City, Cavite, Mayor Edwin Santiago from City of San Fernando, Pampanga, Mayor John Yap from Tagbilaran, Bohol, and Mayor Mercedita Apura from Carcar City in Cebu. So we have a lot of questions. I'd like to move on to them quickly. And the first one I see raising a hand here is Mayor Romel Jacale asking a question. So Mayor, please go ahead. Can we turn on the mayor's microphone and video?
Hello.
Yes, Mayor, please go ahead.
Yes, Sir Bill, if you would be able to notice the support of the national government in the value of the voucher system is different. 80% voucher value for the private school. But on our part, the city government, the voucher value is only 50%. I think it should be fair. In as much as the value for the national program for pre-secondary education, we get our own budget from the local fund, and that's the reason why is it the private school would have the 80% and the local university would have the 50%. We get our own budget in the local fund, and that's why it depletes so much. In fact, if that would be raised, we could be able to do the connectivity infrastructure. I think that should be addressed by the national.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. We'll take a note of that. Okay, Dr. Renato, would you like to respond to the mayor's comment about the voucher system?
Yeah, I actually agree with him. Probably the state university should not be taking even 50%. It should be no. There should be no voucher for the state universities because they have already the budget. It's just an addition for that. Yun po ang tinatanong nga namin yan bakit kailangan magkaroon pa ng voucher ang state university? Public naman siya. Kaya lang kasi nga ala sa kanilang mandate yung senior high school. Yun po ang reason kung bakit humihingi sila ng additional para magkaroon ng ginagamit nila para doon sa kanilang karaniwang budget para sa mga pangailangan ng mga teachers. But their teachers are already part of the flotilla of the state universities. Kaya ang concern po ni Mayor doon ay sa state universities, state colleges and universities. For me, walang dapat bayaran ng bata kasi public naman yung mga colleges and state universities.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Renato. I have a question here, and I'll direct it to Vince Tempunko. It's already talking about the insufficiency and problematic internet connections. Even before the school year starts, we're already experiencing low connections or internet outages with people, having to work from home and things like this. Much more so when school opens. Vince, would you like to address that question?
Even before this pandemic happened, Globe has been aggressive with our rollouts, with our cell site builds and whatnot. And in spite of the lockdowns, the community quarantine, we have continued to build our network and expand our network. As you know, telecommunications is an industry that is not impacted in a way by the community quarantine. So the IATF has allowed us to continue with our works to build our network. The support that we just need from the local government is to allow our people to continue to build exempt us from local lockdowns so that we can expand our network quickly. And also, during this time, we continue to acquire permits from the LGUs. And our request is to continue to grant these permits so that we can continue to build a pipeline for our sites to build. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Vince. Well, I can say from my personal experience, I used to co-chair the National Competitiveness Council, and one of the issues brought up with us quite often when we talk to the mayors and to the cities is that the permitting process for the building of cell sites takes rather long. Can take up to 8 months long. So I think this is something that we could work on jointly to try to reduce it. And as the telcos build more cell sites, I would imagine that the services and the signal and the access for cities, for LGUs, would get much better if there were much more cell sites built, and if the ratio of population of users to cell sites would go down. No? So thank you for that question, and thanks, Vince, for your response. I see a question from Attorney Gail Pamintuan from League of Cities. Attorney Gail, would you like to ask your question about teachers? And are they ready? Can we find Gail or not? If we can't find Gail, let me ask her question. With respect to readiness, how many teachers are trained, and what are the status of modules that need to be printed and proposed, and what's the proposed schedule of distribution to be assisted by LGUs? Are there concerns and issues that are unique to Region 7 as they shift to blended learning? Jimenez, can we ask you to answer that question? What do you need to do, and what's going to happen with the schedule of distribution and the printing of the materials at the LGU level in Region 7?
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Bill. Thank you for that question, Attorney. So far in Region 7, we have around 78,000 teachers. Now, with that number of teachers, we have around 85% already been trained. Now, we have an ongoing trainings for all our teachers. Even today, they still have trainings through webinars. So they are trained on Google Classrooms as to how to prepare virtual classrooms and all. Now, so far, as to the status of modules, for the first quarter, actually the regional office came up with a Gantt chart or a timeline. So each division submitted as to when they will be able to finish the printing and when are they going to distribute. But in fact, some of the divisions already have simulation or dry run in the conduct of the modality that they prefer to adopt for the school year 2020-2021. Now, in relation to the possible unique way of implementing our local learning continuity plans, I believe almost the same with the rest of the country. So what differs actually, especially in the distribution with the help, of course, of our local government units, is on the support side. Now, we are happy to inform that all the 19 divisions, local government unit counterparts are really supportive of the learning continuity plans of the different divisions in the 19 divisions of Central Visayas. So, so far, yesterday, I had a regional MANCOM with all the superintendents, and our superintendents reported that all the necessary requirements for the preparation, especially in the first quarter and the opening of classes comes August 24, already set. So, so far, that is the latest update for Region 7. But for other regions, I do not have actually idea on where are the preparations now. But for Region 7, every week, the division offices submitted to us a report as to where they are now in relation to the preparations, the printing, and or even the timelines for the distribution of the printed materials.
may I invite any of the mayors who would like to, if any of the mayors would like to comment or ask a question, we can turn on your video and turn on your microphone. If not, I see a question from Dinky von Einsedel. Dinky, are you still there? Can we turn on a microphone and video for Dinky, please? And then next, I'll take a question from Ida Chongson. And then Dr. Robert Pagulayan. So let's queue them up and get them ready for videos and microphones open.
Okay, I see myself on the screen.
Perfect, Dinky. Please ask your question.
Well, part of my question was actually addressed to Vince, and he already answered part of it. I was just wondering whether Globe provided technical assistance to LGUs and maybe private real estate developers in the planning of ICT infrastructure in new areas, in areas that LGUs are eyeing for expansion, for urban expansion, or areas that real estate developers are developing in certain cities. Does Globe provide technical assistance for that?
The answer is yes. Okay. In fact, for private developers, we have a group within Globe that specializes on working with these property developers in the design and the implementation of their telco facilities. And we are also extending our support to the LGUs for their ICT plans. In fact, our clamor is to include telco facilities in the master planning of their city. In fact, earlier today, I had a discussion with the mayor, and in fact, that was exactly our discussion, that in a city in Cavite, we would like to get their development plans so that Globe can plan ahead and put in the necessary facilities together when they build their roads and their infrastructures.
Thanks, thanks, Vince. Dinky, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Vince. There are two, while we're waiting for Dr. Pagulayan, there are two questions here. Bobby.
Hi, Bill.
And Dr.
Yeah,
please.
good
Ask your question,
afternoon.
please. Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah. Well, I have actually two questions. I've already typed them, rather, but I'll ask the first question. No, siguro kay Vince, no, doon sa infrastructure mo. Natuwa naman ako doon sa cell site na inanyo mo doon sa sa FEU and RMF, no, and this has helped a lot. And since the problem nga would be in terms of education, would be putting the cell site where you've got probably your educational institutions, and we do have that thing in there. Then ilan ba talaga from itong strategy ba ito ay parang na-discover niyo na ba, or how many educational institutions did you approach? And kasi parang ilan lang ba ang meron? I mean, there are more than 2,000 higher educational institutions in the whole country. So gusto ko malaman, ilan ba yung ganito na parang FEU na set up ninyo? I think maganda ito kasi hindi nyo na kailangan ng may building na. So yung base mo nandun na, ilalagay nyo na lang most probably yung mga antena, no?
Correct po. I can probably give specific numbers right now. But one of the things that we have actually offered in the past to schools and even DepEd schools, that we could put up our cell sites in their school grounds, and in return, we can give them free connectivity. in lieu of lease, no? So let's say I built a tower in a school in let's say Makati, no? And I can give free Wi-Fi or direct internet connectivity to the school so that we can support their distance learning program. Okay. And we can give other connectivity help as well, no? If we build our cell site in their schools.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great, Vin. Yep.
Yeah, that's great because Bill with online na yun and so social distancing, no? Yung estudyante, naiisip ko na tuloy kung talagang kailangan pumunta sa isang lugar, at least hindi na sila confined sa classroom na magkakatabi, di ba? So kung malaki yung area mo, yung grounds mo, you can maintain siguro kahit na na more than siguro 5 meters distance between students, okay? And you can still have kasi we're looking at some strategies kung paano gagawin ito. So, yeah, thank you very much, Vince. I would hope na total naman sa CRT sa Cabanatuan, nandyan pa rin po siya. Baka makonvince siya, di ba? I come from AUF also in Pampanga, so hopefully you can also approach the schools in there, and not only our schools, but hopefully other schools as well. I have another question, Bill. Kasi
Go ahead, Doc.
Okay. One technology, I'm also a teacher, no? And so far, since nagsimula kami ng summer, March, naabutan tayo, April, summer class na, I have to deliver everything else online. And buti na lang, I have a good experience I was one of the pioneer teachers na UP Open University, pero ibang klase yun noon, no? It's more than 20, 30 years ago. But we were able to come up with this. Now, what I've seen so far, some of the problems in the educational system, and Dr. Librion would from Cabanatuan would probably look at this also and then probably agree with me. Technology is only one of the problem. The bigger problem probably is going to be pedagogy. Okay, and that's how we have to look at it, because sabi nga kanina, marami sa atin technology savvy, but how many are really technology literate? Kasi yun ang kailangan. Okay, so in the same way, for example, also when we try to deal with the educational system, ang pinaka-importante is actually yung pedagogy. Kung kailangan mong anuhin yan, ay dapat yun muna, and then later on you come up basically with technology. So kailangan hand in hand yan. Now in the pedagogy, nasanay tayo sa face-to-face. Wala tayong problema sa mentoring, right? Nandun yung mga teachers, kung may problema ang estudyante, they go to us. Okay? They're all in one room. We can cater to probably up to around something like 50 students. Okay? Sabay-sabay yan. Okay lang. Okay? The problem would be pagdating sa distance education, how can you go mentoring? Okay? So in this case, you will be very dependent na yun. Okay? In terms of pedagogy, you will find that parents will now have to come in, okay, as part of the mentoring system. Ang mahirap naman dun would be okay lang kung work from home yung parents. Okay? Paano pag lalabas yan? Magtatrabaho sa labas. So sinong magme-mentor dun sa mga estudyante? What I'm saying is, siguro sa local government and also DepEd, CHED, no? Hindi na lang siguro yung in terms of yung looking at human resources na kailangan natin, formally na hire natin, hindi lang naman siguro teachers na, kung hindi pati mentors. Okay? Medyo mag-iba na yung yung sistema dito. Mentors who can help the teachers din take care of something like around 5 students, okay, in there. So kung 20 yan, you need around 4 mentors, right? Na online yan palagi. Who would do that mentoring? Not the teaching, it's really the mentoring, guiding the students, tutoring even. No? So yun lang
okay,
po.
Doctor.
Thanks.
Thank you for the suggestion. Thanks, Doctor. I hope is Dr. I see someone raising a hand, 63917. Would you like to ask your question? Can we turn on the microphone and a video? None, let me just move on to another question first for Dr. Jimenez, if he's still here. There's a question about, has there been a good experience in the use of radio or TV as one of the modalities that you mentioned? Has there been a good experience on that?
Okay. In relation to radio-based instruction, RBI or TV, actually by first week of August, we'll have a dry run, specifically in the division of Lapu-Lapu City. As of now, we do not have yet the experience in Central Visayas. So comes August, first week of August, we'll have the dry run or the simulation on RBI or radio-based instruction and also TV.
Okay, and then we'll see how that experience works. No, all right. And then while I still have you on here, Dr. Jimenez and Dr. Renato, there's a question here about how do we ensure, or how does DepEd ensure that children from lower economic classes, lower income classes, will have access to any of the modalities, especially at the far-flung areas, far-flung rural areas and island provinces?
Okay, Sir Bill, actually we have, as I mentioned earlier in my presentation, there are several modalities that we are adopting, no? And it would be dependent on the location of the school. So those remote areas, the hinterlands, usually we will be adopting the modular modality or more on the printed modules. So not online, because of course, access itself is already a question. So this still can continue with the education through this modular or printed materials.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thank you. Do we have that question coming in? Yes, please. Dr. Renato, yes, please.
Isa sa mga sinasuggest natin yung pagkakaroon ng learning center sa mga barangay. Parang courier din yan. Kung pwede ang barangay, yung far-flung barangays, sila ang tatanggap ng mga materials. Sila ang mag-distribute. That will be one way of working with the DepEd. Kasi mahirap na isa-isa yun. But the barangay can work on it. Siguro ito pwede natin suggest na po pwedeng gawin ng DepEd as part of their activity. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Okay, we have a question coming in. Can we turn on a video and microphone, please?
Hello.
Yes, please.
Yes, my question is there an ideal speed for the internet for learning, especially if you're using over 5 gadgets? And the second question is it possible for telcos to share your cell sites to ensure wider coverage, especially in the provinces?
Okay, thanks. First question, let me toss that to you, Mark. What the ideal speed when you're using 5 gadgets?
Well, actually, 5 to 10 Mbps is okay already for to accommodate 5 gadgets all at the same time. But it depends also on the connectivity po, no? On the signal. As I've said, or as what Vincent was telling us earlier, there might be areas that have good signal. And yes, we can accommodate those schools in those areas, but there will be areas talaga po na walang signal. And we feel that with the help of the LGUs, with the help of the mayors, in making sure that we get all the necessary permits on time and to be right on time will help us expand our network better. And yun nga po. And just to add also, during the inquiry earlier in terms of making sure that online learning becomes available for those students in the far-flung areas. There are several methods of deliveries po. The other type would be modular for those, because I have friends who are teaching in the boondocks, but they have signal in the boondocks, surprisingly. But the problem naman po dun would be connectivity for the access to connectivity in terms of the students. So the students do not really have the means to get the connectivity packages. So in Globe naman po, we have personalized our packages for the education industry, and we have crafted several SKUs and plans specifically targeted to teachers and students, and available already in the market, so that everyone has access to this. Because this can be delivered through our prepaid internet kits, through our direct internet bundles, or through our mobile internet prepaid data plans. So all the allocations are designed for online learning, and the good thing here is that they can share, of course, the connectivity to the people inside. So say, for example, in a family where there will be like 5 kids sharing in just one modem, so it's going to be easier for them also to do online learning all at the same time.
Great, thanks, Mark. The second question, let me toss to Vincent. Are the telcos sharing sites?
Okay. She mentioned about sharing of sites to the province. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So mainly, Globe is being aggressive with the rollout. So our rollout is not concentrated in the city centers, but we also expand our network to the provinces. For all we know, I don't know where you're exactly from. For all we know, there's probably a plan to expand our network in your area. So the key really is being able to get the necessary consent from the neighbors and the permits for us to be able to build the cell site. Okay. You can get in touch with me separately, and then we can discuss where you're from, and let's see how we can help your area.
Thank you, Vince. So I guess there's 2 items there. One is the cell site build out in some areas, and the second one, I want to just refer back to what you said earlier, Vince, is that you could work with schools and build on their site in exchange for connectivity on their premises, no, in lieu of they paying rental, which I think is a great deal.
Yes.
There are so many questions, ladies and gentlemen, so I don't want to. I want to ask a few more at least. I know we're going to go a bit over time, but there are just really so many good questions. This one again is Vincent, for you, I guess. How ready are the internet providers ready to support connectivity for educational institutions, and particularly for tech VOC institutions?
Okay. 2 things. Okay. During the ECQ or pandemic, there was a huge spike in traffic coming from everyone. There was probably a 20 or 25% increase, and yet Globe was able to support the increase in traffic. Okay. The key challenge right now is really from an access point of view, meaning being able to reach people in their homes, in their schools, and in their offices. And that's where the cell site build will come in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so I think again that came from Kenneth Bayani. So that question really is, how do we get more sites built within schools? And Globe is working on that. Well, I'll just flag a question here, and I guess I don't know if this goes to you, Vince, or maybe you tell someone within Globe. Someone is from Sorsogon, but they are saying wala pang Globe store Sorsogon, so I think they need it in order to buy their materials and devices and pay for and their prepaid Wi-Fi working. So maybe flag that issue.
Yes, if he can send his information offline, and I can send it to our sales guys and consider building a store in this area.
Okay, thank you. That's Christian Cañate. There was a question earlier, and I didn't want to forget it, but there was discussion about what is Globe doing for special education. That's one, and I guess maybe by extension people with disabilities. Special education. There was a question about that. How can you help them? Mark, would you? No? Would that fall under you?
Yes. Actually, in Globe Globe Education in general, because we attack it with the different groups inside the organization. So our corporate communication and the citizen advocacy marketing are closely working with the Department of Education and other educational institutions that have special education and students with special needs and specific needs. And feel free to reach out to us in terms of the needs that you have, so that it's going to be easier also for us to make sure that everyone is, no one's left behind and everyone's provided with connectivity. Just to give you one example, our client, the La Salle College of St. Benilde, they have the Applied Deaf Studies program. And since we're closely working with the La Salle College of St. Benilde, we are also supporting this particular kind of initiative.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Mark. Vince has a question for you here. Just like you mentioned schools, free Wi-Fi for cell site location, would you do the same for barangays?
Yes.
Free internet for barangay hall in exchange for a site. You would
Yes.
do that, right?
Yes.
Oh,
We will do that, and we have done that.
you have done that. Okay, great. Now there are really so many questions, and I want to keep people going longer. And so I'm afraid I'm going to have to close off this session on the panel discussion. But there are really so many questions, and I want to thank everybody for their interest. We will try our best to answer. We will collate the questions and try to answer as many questions as we can and send it back. So first, before I close, let me just first of all thank all the participants and invite you to answer the feedback form that will appear once you exit this webinar. So when you hit the leave button, you will see a feedback form. And for those of you who wish to receive a certificate of participation, please fill out the feedback form with your name as you wish for it to appear on the certificate. So exactly as you want your name to appear on the certificate, type that in. Make sure we have your email address. We'll get the certificate of attendance of participation back to you as soon as we can. No? Also, we'd invite you to like our Facebook page at facebook.com/Liveable Cities PH and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Liveable_PH. As I already mentioned earlier, all presentations are going to be made available to you. We will send that out on email. We will also gather all the unanswered, all the questions answered and unanswered, and try to send you the answers to as many of them as we can. We look forward to seeing you at our future labs. We have several planned ahead in the queue. Our next lab will be on Wednesday, August 5th, same time, 3 p.m. And we're going to be talking about e-commerce and how cities can support e-commerce to be able to revive and jumpstart the economy after such a long lockdown and a continued lockdown, I might add. So again, thank you very much to all of you for attending today's session. Before we formally close our program, we'd like to share with you a tribute video to all Filipino SMEs from Globe My Business. So this is kind of, I guess, a little advance tribute ahead of the e-commerce session on August 5th. But Globe My Business honors the hard work and resilience of the Pinoy SMEs, especially during these challenging times. So on behalf of all of us here at Liveable Cities Challenge, League of Cities of the Philippines, and Globe Telecom, thank you for attending today. We look forward to seeing you on August 5th and in future Liveable Cities Labs. Thank you and good afternoon. Enjoy the rest of the day.
The sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs and the sorrow till there's none. When I'm stuck with the day that's gray and lonely, I just stick out my chin and grin and say, the sun'll come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may, tomorrow, tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. You're always a day